And welcome to this week's episode of Street Smarts, only on the History Channel. We have a great show for you today, and more specifically we're going to look at the Supreme Court and some of its cases it's had. As you know, on Street Smarts we take one random person off the streets and see what they know about the United States and its history. This week it's Thomas Matthews. Give him a round of applause. Alright, so Thomas, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a highly educated individual from the rough streets of Detroit. I had to transfer schools after a while with some altercations with the faculty. They couldn't handle the way that I carried myself in their school, which is fine because I burned it down shortly before I left.
Well, let's get started, why don't we? Alright. Thomas.
Glad to be here, Casey.
Well, I'm sure you are.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, well, our first subject today is going to be Brown versus the Board of Education. Please, Thomas, tell us what you know.
Going off the top of my head, Brown versus the Board of Education. Well, if my high school education serves me correctly, which it does.
Oh, I'm very sure.
Brown versus the Board of Education was back in, I want to say 1903. The Cleveland Browns were trying to become teachers after several very, very rough seasons. And the Board of Teachers would not allow them to, and so they took it to the Supreme Court.
You know, that actually isn't too far off from the truth. Back in 1954, former Chief Justice Earl Warren ruled that schools that are segregated are inherently unequal. Because of that, the Supreme Court ruled that both blacks and whites and all other ethnicities should be able to go to school together in one facility. Well, it seems you started out rough, Thomas, but let's see if you can get better. Our next question is Gibbons versus Ogden.
Oh, what a great boxing match.
Okay, hold on there, bucko. I'm thinking you're getting this confused with something else. Gibbons versus Ogden was when the Supreme Court ruled that the federal government had more regulation than the state government in terms of power. Back in 1824, two men by the name of Gibbons and Ogden both had permits to trade between New York and New Jersey. Gibbons had permission from the states to trade between each other, while Ogden got the federal permission. Because they both wanted private access to the trade, they both sued each other, and then the Supreme Court ruled that the federal permit overruled the state permit, giving federal power more power than the states. Well, Tommy, you're starting out 0 for 2, but don't worry, third time's always the charm.
That it is.
Alright, so now it's our trivia section of the episode, and our first question is, how does a Supreme Court justice get to be on the Supreme Court?
Oh, that one's simple. Once every 4 years, one of them is elected.
No.
Was that all right?
No, actually, the president nominates a candidate to become a Supreme Court judge, and then the Senate votes whether or not to elect them to the court. Well, Tommy, you're still 0 for 3, but don't worry, you can still make some headway into this. Question number 4. How long is a Supreme Court justice allowed to hold their position for?
As long as they feel like.
That's actually correct. Congratulations.
Yeah.
A Supreme Court justice is allowed to be on the court for as long as they choose, unless they either die or become impeached. Congratulations, Tommy. You got your first answer correct. Time to get some more. Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
Alright, our next question. Who was the first Chief Justice of the United States of America? Well, sometimes the candidates need a little bit of time to think about the possible answers, go through their head and rack their stores of knowledge.
Oh, John Jay.
Wait, was that an iPhone?
No.
John Jay was the first Chief Justice of the United States, being appointed by George Washington himself. Alright, Tommy, going back to the landmark cases, can you tell us what the case is Roe versus Wade?
Gonna be honest with you, Casey, I don't know this one.
What a surprise! Roe versus Wade was when the Supreme Court ruled that a woman had the right to an abortion without interference from the government within the first trimester. Well, Tommy, time for your next question. Can you tell me where the term Miranda rights come from?
Oh, that's simple. From the movie 21 Jump Street.
Good God. No. Actually, the Miranda rights come from a 1966 case in which a man was arrested in Arizona and the police did not inform him that he had the right to remain silent and a right to an attorney. The Supreme Court then ruled that when a person is being arrested, they must be told these two simple things. Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of Street Smarts. Tommy, believe me when I say, it has not been a pleasure. Please go educate yourselves and get out of my studio.
I hate your show.
And there you have it, folks. The American Jackass. Good night, everybody.
I'm turning it loose, footloose. Kick off your Sunday shoes. Please, Louise, pull me off of my knees. Jack, get back. Come on before we crack. Lose your blues.